think you guys should be called the East Central and West podcast.
Me, Fidel, and Jerry, and everybody and their grandma, they know it was a catch in Green Bay.
Energy, it's just contagious. It's just awesome.
Some of the best quarterbacks in the league today are guys who are dual threats.
All right, guys, thrilled to be here, excited.
Ryan Clark, how you doing?
Good, brother. How are you?
Good. Hey, we appreciate your time.
Oh, no problem at all, my man.
Hey, so I want to start off by talking about Deshaun Watson. So yesterday it finally came out that he officially requested a trade. Let me ask you, Ryan, where do you think he's going to end up going?
I don't know. I think that's that's always the fun part to me, and the hard part about this job is, people ask you to predict. I can't. You know what I mean? Like it's a people world. It's a people driven game, and it's going to be about the team with the most capital. It's going to be about the team that Deshaun actually wants to play for because he has a no trade clause, and so he's not going to necessarily let them, like Odell said, send him to Cleveland to die. Deshaun's going to pick his place, and I think he's going to pick his place based off of what he needs personally as a person and also as a player. When you look at different landing spots, obviously the New York Jets have a lot of capital. They've been talked about, but it's been back and forth on whether or not that's a place he wants to play. When you look at teams like San Francisco, you would say, that would be a great fit for him, a team that needs a quarterback or that was a quarterback away from winning a Super Bowl a few years ago. You have the Colts, but now you also have the interesting things or the interesting part of other quarterbacks being on the move, that Matt Ryan may be a tradable piece, that obviously Matthew Stafford is now a tradable piece. And so when you look at all of those things, you don't really know necessarily where Deshaun's going to end up because of what it's going to take to get him. We're talking about a top 5 quarterback in this league who played on a terrible team. As bad as his team was, he had that team in games with opportunities to win week after week because of his play. And so, you never know where he's going to end up. I can't say that I can predict it as well, but wherever he goes, he immediately makes that team better.
Yes, and let me ask you about the Super Bowl matchup we'll have next weekend, Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Kansas City Chiefs. Tampa Bay's defense, that defensive line has been very aggressive against the quarterbacks that it's played against in the playoffs, but we all know what Patrick Mahomes is capable of. What do you think it's going to take for Tampa Bay to beat the Chiefs on Super Bowl Sunday?
It's going to take some turnovers, right? Which we've seen the Tampa Bay Buccaneers create in the playoffs, whether it's Murphy Bunting. Obviously, Devin White has been a monster throughout the playoffs. Antoine Winfield was out last game, but he makes the big play against the Saints. It's going to take turnovers. It's going to take pressure. It's also going to take ball control. Patrick Mahomes has lost 9 games in his career. In those games, the teams that beat them are averaging 35 carries, over 160 yards on the ground. And that's what you got to do because you have to keep them on the sideline. You have to wear that defense out. And when teams don't do that, you obviously give him the football too much. You give him the last opportunity, and he's going to make plays. And so I think you play Patrick Mahomes with your team. You play the Kansas City Chiefs offense with your entire team by your scheme, your strategy, the way you execute on both sides of the ball. And so it's going to take a little bit more than what it took to beat Green Bay, in my opinion, because it's going to take a better game by Tom Brady and not turning the football over. You turn the football over against the Kansas City Chiefs 3 times, it won't be the measly 6 points the Packers were able to muster. Patrick Mahomes is going to put those balls in the end zone.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Ryan. Appreciate you joining us today. First, I want to ask you about your former team, the Steelers. Do you in the future, do you think Big Ben will be back?
Yeah, Ben says he wants to play another year. He says he doesn't necessarily care about his pay. That's music to any team's ear, to any organization's ear. Now you have to figure out how that works with the salary cap, how you maneuver that money in order to give you more space and more room. And I think if Big Ben wants to be back, he will. I think a huge reason you elevate Matt Canada from quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinators because you like some of the things that he did, but also he has a rapport with the players and with the quarterback. And that's a guy that wants to be back. Coach Tomlin always had this saying about his emotional bank account, that he treated people differently who had made a ton of deposits into his emotional bank account. There's no player on that team who's made more deposits there than Ben Roethlisberger. And so if he wants to be back, I think they'll have him back as long as the money works out in a way that benefits the team as well.
Appreciate it, Ryan. And I also want to ask you about what do you think they're gonna do with Juju Smith-Schuster? You think they're gonna resign him?
I don't know. It depends on what type of money he wants to make. It depends on how important his football brand is to him over his social media brand, over the things that he's building away from the field. And I think that's always a hard deal, right? Because we tell football players, understand you have to be more than an athlete. You have to prepare yourself for post-career, but that's only if you're doing the things we want you to do. Preparing yourself post-career is saving your money, building businesses. It's not building a TikTok brand that people feel interfere with football. That's not the way it works, right? Like we don't want to see you dancing and getting smashed. Figure one out. And so for him, when we look at his production, this is a guy who had 1,400 yards when he's with AB. He hasn't been that same player. And even though he has the big game against Cleveland in the playoffs, that's all in a comeback effort where Big Ben throws for over 500 yards. And so you're going to have to figure out, is Juju Smith-Schuster a dude or is he just a dude? You know, and then that's two different things, or the dude. Can he be your number one? And I think when you look at Deontay Johnson, clearly he's a better number one to me. Also, Chase Claypool has the upside to be a better number one. So what do you pay for a dude that's more like a 2.5 going forward?
Couldn't have said no better, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Yep.
So Ryan, tell me, leading up to the Super Bowl, right? Because you are a Super Bowl winning champion, right? So what advice would you give to a young player that's, maybe on either team? What kind of advice would you say would be beneficial as far as leading up to the actual Super Bowl?
Man, you just play, bro. I think the AFC championships, the NFC championships are like more nerve-wracking because you're trying to reach this lofty goal of getting to the Super Bowl. And it's like, regardless, it's if you don't win this game, you don't get an opportunity to achieve your goal. And now you're there. Now it's the week. So the first thing is you handle your business the first week, whether it's tickets, hotels, whatever you got to do, you get that junk out of the way. You pass that on to somebody else. Give it to your mom, give it to your wife, give it to your girlfriend, whoever. She does that job. And then when you're there, soak it up. Soak up the practices. Obviously, the festivities will be different because of COVID, but enjoy the things you get to do with your team and the time you get to spend with your team leading up to that. Because once the game starts, and it's just football. Honestly, the national anthem is a little different. The pregame warm-up's a little different because you understand where you are. You get to look around and you're like, holy crap, like this is it. This is what I've worked for my whole life. But then when they kick the ball off, it's the same football you've played since you were 5, since you were 6. It's the same game you played for free your whole life. And you understand that and you know that, and you just go out and try to win it because it's going to be 60 minutes, maybe sometimes a little bit more, but it's the same game. It's the same opportunity, and you got to have fun and live in the moment.
So let me add a couple. I have a couple more questions, but not too many. But so you played with some. You had some great teammates along the way. I mean, you played with Sean Taylor for a stint, right? And then you also played with Troy Polamalu. But when you look at the big picture, what is your most memorable, experience in the NFL as a player?
I think just experience it as a whole. But the 2008 season, we won a Super Bowl, I would think would be my most memorable experience for this reason. The year before, I almost lost my life. I lost my spleen, my gallbladder, piece of my liver. And so, I was at a point I didn't know if I would live. Once they tell you would live, I didn't know if I'd ever play again. And so I just remember enjoying every moment. That was the same year that Sean passed. And so, I was in a grateful space in life. And so I just remember every game, what it took to play, what it took to win, and have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl with that team. There's a picture of me laying in the confetti. And, everybody always asks me who sees the picture, like, what were you thinking? And it was just relief. Everybody thought, or they think that you're just so excited and you're so happy that you win the Super Bowl. More importantly, you're just happy you didn't lose it, because you understand that the gravity of it. But I understood how important every game was that season, every second, every opportunity. And to share it with the dudes I shared it with and to end up on the cover of ESPN magazine going into the playoffs, it was just truly an experience and a journey, not just a destination of winning the Super Bowl. And, obviously to get there because Troy gets an interception that ends up being a pick six against Baltimore and beating them. If I had to look at one play, I think that was just like the microcosm of that season. It was doing whatever you had to do in the moment to win. And that's what we did.
Let's end it off. I will say this. Watching you play, I think that you're one of the more, uh, to me, you're one of my favorite players
Oh,
overall.
thank you.
But I'm just saying this sincerely because I think that with you, this is not, it's gonna go into the question, but with you really every opportunity you made, I mean,
Mm.
you freaking excelled in everything you've done. You
Oh,
do.
thank you.
So, transitioning now to sports analyst, I mean,
Hmm.
how is it that you've done it so smoothly? I mean, has there been a person or did you just, I
Um,
mean, what's the key?
it's just one of those things. There's been different levels of it. Like I was the first active player to have a TV contract. So I interned at ESPN first, then I got an agent, then I got a contract. Obviously signed up right with them right away. I think the biggest thing now is I'm just myself, and it takes a while to be comfortable doing that, right? Like you look at the sports world before now, people had to kind of be straight laced and you had to talk like this and you had to seem familiar and you had to be comfortable and all those things. And I was like, man, bump that, like F that. Like I'm gonna be me, and if it works for people, it works for people. If it doesn't work for them, then I really don't care. And that's when you get into a space, man, to where you enjoy it. And I just love football, honestly.
Yeah.
So I watch extra football. I study extra football. I study different techniques. I go talk to different coaches. I've been with the Sean McVays. I've been, with the Steve Wilkes. I try to visit and be in as many places where you could just be around knowledge as you can, and you share that knowledge. And then my thing is like I want the viewer to feel like he's my homeboy.
All
Right?
right.
To feel like we're sitting in the barbershop or we're sitting at the crib, drinking a beer, eating crawfish, talking about sports. And I think once you can do that and you're not trying to talk over people's heads, like I'm not trying to show you that I'm smarter than you. I'm trying to show you that we both love this game the same. I'm a fan of the game as well. And I think people can see that in the way I talk about it.
Oh man, I think that you're becoming one of the best in the game right now as you're doing it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Like I said, I mean, every opportunity you've had, you made the most out of it, and you're doing it now. So, just one little last question. Well,
Mhm.
we're seeing, an interesting draft class. I mean, do you pay attention to the actual scene as far as the off season with the college kids making the transition to the NFL?
Well, it's a good question. So I have my own facility. So right now I'm at House of Athletes in
Okay.
Florida doing some extra work.
All right.
And I just finished a film session with some college kids who are coming into the draft. And like I'm always paying attention to that. I'm always a part of it. I've been a part of it for years. And so now with having an opportunity to see them as they train, as they get prepared for it, you understand the stress that they're under. And so yeah, I pay attention to this. Justin Fields was my 7-on-7 quarterback at the opening. I
Wow.
played against Trevor Lawrence when he was in high school. Obviously, Travis Etienne is, from close to the crib. Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons is someone I've known since high school. So I know all these kids just from watching them come up, watching them, whether it's train, play, go to camps. And so it's cool to now see them get to the point to where they can live out their dreams.
That's awesome. I was gonna say, well, I mean, what's a best advice you can give to maybe a safety that's trying to, make a name for himself?
I mean, just like I just told the boys, Paris Ford from Pittsburgh is here.
Man, he's good,
or-
man. He kind of reminds me
right,
of you.
Darius Washington
Oh yeah.
from TCU, Kerry Vincent, LSU. It's about understanding who you are. I always tell people, your job is everything they think you are, you have to be that every day, right? They think you're smart, they think you're tough, they think you're accountable, they think you're responsible. You got to be those things, right? You got to be on time. You have to have an understanding of the playbook. If you're an effort guy, you have to always give effort. And now everything they believe that you aren't, right? They don't think you're fast or they don't think you're physical, whatever it is. I got to work every day to disprove those things. You see what I'm saying? So it's be everything good that they think you are and be none of the bad that they think you are. That's your job. That's your job every day, to prove those things and to disprove those things. And that's what we work towards.
Ryan Clark, thank you so much, man. I mean, it was truly an honor to have you on.
Oh, no doubt about it, man. You boys be good, man. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Hey, Ryan, real quick before we let you go, quick question. Who wins the Super Bowl next Sunday?
Is Patrick Mahomes going to be alive next Sunday?
We hope so.
If Patrick Mahomes is alive, it's Kansas City. I don't know if I'm ever going to pick against dude until he retires.
All right.
Well said.
There it is, Ryan Clark. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.